Vivien Roggero is an elite transformation coach and the creator of the One Freedom Framework, a revolutionary approach that empowers high performance professionals to achieve personal and professional freedom. With over 15 years of experience in leadership, strategic planning, and operations, Vivien specializes in guiding individuals through transformative journeys using NLP, innovative systems, and massive action strategies. His mission is to help people build a new, healthier version of themselves, achieving fulfillment, happiness, and success. As a public speaker and author, Vivien shares insights on personal development, leadership, and the principles of the One Freedom Framework. Connect with him through his complimentary resources, the Awareness Workbook and newsletter at vivienroggero.com/newsletter. All right, thank you so much, Vivien, for joining me on our talk today about moving from resume to reinvention to remarkable. And I thank you so much for joining us. So let's jump right on in. You know, there's a lot of things happening. A lot of people want to transition and do different things. But before we get into some action-based step, I want you to take us to a journey inside of your mind. When did you know at a pivotal time that you were meant for more? And take us through that process of what you were thinking about and how did you make the decision to go towards the more you know that you were meant for more. Like, how did you go towards that instead of it just being a feeling?
Yeah. So for me, it started really early. I have a bit of a really specific background in certain case because when I was younger, I used to go in summer when I was around 18, 19 to Saint-Tropez where my father lived and do odd job during the summer. You know, like booking yachts, selling balloons on the port, working in restaurants, everything that I could do, I would do it to basically experiment. And then in terms of studies, I have like 4 diplomas, 2 master's degree, 2 bachelor degree, computer science, international business. So it's like I've experienced a lot. I've worked. I don't recall the number of position and title that I've owned on my life. I mean, I also worked in different countries: Germany, Indonesia, Taiwan. So it's been for me always a journey of what next and how to grow. And it started like most people, with like your first job, your first position. But the idea for me was always like, what's next after that? What do I want to do? How I have more, how I gain more knowledge, how I gain more presence, how I get more discovery, and how I get at the end of the day how I gain more freedom. Because that was like a lot of people that do entrepreneurship, and this is something that is completely underrated. But it's a lot about the freedom to be who you are. And for me, when I was already, I don't know, 2021, I was like, okay, this is great. I'm learning more. I'm doing more, but this is not who I am. Okay, what next? What more? And yeah, until I've done advisoring for startups since, I don't know, I started really doing it when I was in Germany, so around 10 years ago now. And then I've been doing full-time coaching and consulting for since COVID, basically. Since COVID, I've switched to that. And so, yeah, that was like, for me, steps in the building in the life and really a pursuit of freedom, a pursuit of being more myself, more free to be myself and do things that I love.
Okay, two things I heard from that I want to expound upon. One, you talked about your previous experiences, and like you, I think people underestimate their previous experiences. So when they try to transition to something different, they're like, "Well, I'm starting from scratch," but that's not necessarily the case because you brought all of those experiences with you. So before I jump to the next part, can you talk just a little bit more about how you used those previous experiences to get you where you are now?
Yeah. So let's take some of the last consulting that I did. So I was part-time VP of IT operation for a fintech in Indonesia, helping them with IT security, IT office, infrastructure, a bunch of areas there. My career has been doing everything in IT, like from developer to CTO. I've done all of those. And every time you take a new part of the job, you're learning more, and you're learning new skills, new idea, new concept. But what you learn more than anything, and I think that's the most critical thing that people need to understand, you learn to think. And you learn to learn, because the more you are growing and you have more skills, more skill set, that means more different way of thinking about things and more different way of approaching a problem. And so, to be honest, I had some of my best experience solving problems for people. And coaching is a bit helping you solving your problem in a certain way. It's a bit, going into, okay, what are you or trying to improve, and going into that mindset. And so the more experience you have, the more diverse your experience is, the more side of life and different side of thinking you can have. You're not limited yourself into, okay, I only know this. If we look at traditional education system, and the way it is designed to teach you specific skills into a specific area, to make you a specialist. It is great in certain thing, but as an entrepreneur, as someone who want to build something, the more you're able to understand the different aspect of it, the better you can actually realize what you want to do. If you have a single mindset, it's really difficult to saw all the facets of things.
I love that you said that, and I'm going to get to the second part. But I think, like you said, a lot of people, when they jump into entrepreneurship or even starting a business, they forget about that critical thinking part. They're like, just teach me the strategies I need so I can grow the business or get clients and things like that. But they forget about that thinking part. So I appreciate you bringing that to the forefront. There's something else that you talked about the freedom to be yourself. And when we hear people, even if they want to grow more in their careers, it is about, oh, I want more time freedom. I want to be more flexible. But you talked about the freedom to be yourself that gets overlooked. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so a big part of my coaching is actually on that. I've created a framework in 2020 during COVID, and just after, I created a framework called the One Freedom Framework. So, and it's all, turn around one sentence. Freedom is not the ability to do everything that you want at any time you want, because this is chaos. Freedom is the ability to actually do every day something that make you free. And so, as coaches know, there is the Wheel of Life, which is a tool that we all use a lot, and I have modified it to use it as a Wheel of Freedom. And the idea is that for someone, freedom can be completely different from the next person next to them. And I have a good example. Someone I know was looking at what freedom was representing for them, and they have a factory job. So it's not a glamorous job. They don't want to be an entrepreneur, because their freedom is doing their day of work and then coming back home to their children's and knowing that they have a roof, they have the food, and they have everything for their children. So for him, the work is not as important as the family when he is going back to. For some people else that I know, they don't want kids, but they want the freedom to travel. They want the freedom to be everywhere. So they basically become stewards. They travel. Their work is to travel, but for them it's freedom. For the people, that would be, shackles or everything else, but not freedom. So that the point is, when you're doing entrepreneurship, there is a lot of things that you need to do and a lot of work. You work quite a lot of hours. There is no way around it. When you're starting, you work quite a lot of hours. You have a lot of responsibility. When you start leading people, because I've led people for many, many years now, that's another responsibility, because you have to pay those people. You're responsible for their living, and you have to guide the people to make them grow. So there is a lot of responsibility. There are a lot of, some people would say, shackles, but at the same time, you're gaining freedom into accomplishing something that is yours. Because a lot of people that do entrepreneurship, this is what they want. They want to create something. They're not just doing it for the money. Otherwise, I like, to be honest, if I go back and go to work for some of the company in US or anything, I could make a lot of money and work far less hours than I'm doing right now. But the goal is to really build something that bring values around us, and that's, for me, that's freedom. For someone else, that may not be, and that's the important thing. You need to understand what is freedom for you.
I love it. So the point of the virtual expo is really not pushing everyone into entrepreneurship, because I don't believe everyone should be, full-time entrepreneurs, but I do believe everyone should have this way of thinking about wanting to create and to expand more, but they can do that in their career. So what is one piece of advice that you can give someone similar to the factory worker, so that they don't feel like, oh gosh, I just need to be an entrepreneur. If I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm a loser, or, I'm not fulfilling my purpose in life? What would be a piece of advice to help them with their thinking about, is not necessarily being in the role of an entrepreneur, but possibly having the entrepreneurial mindset?
Yeah, okay. This is the most underrated thing that people, I've seen people do. So the first step of the One Freedom Framework is actually R, which is release. We see social media, we see glamorous things, and a lot of those are fake. Let's be honest. Like 90% of the glamorous posts on social media are fake. So, and I have my wife being Indonesian, I'm regularly in Bali, like at least one or twice a year, because that's close to Taiwan where I live right now, and it's, for us, it's as cheap as living there 2 years. And so I have seen those glamorous Bali, remote
Yep.
working environment, and it's not as glamorous as people think. It is not that glamorous. There is traffic jam. There is like, if you have health problem, it's horrible. But I love Bali. I would spend time, and I understand for some people it's a great place to be. But I think this is the point. First, you have to release anything that you have learned, anything that society, your friends, your family, your exposure into social media, movies. Hollywood movies are great for giving us ideas that are not always realistic, and take that and start cleansing that from your mind, and start digging into you. Who are you? What are your value? Like auditing yourself, and exploring what is in the world that actually make you, shine, vibrate, make you happy, or make you feel free, and stop pursuing that things that we are sold. Like entrepreneurship, like 50% of the company will fail in the first year.
Yeah.
90% in the first 2 years. So if you're there for the money and for the success, that's not going to last long. But if you are there because this is you, then even if you fail one company, two companies, three companies, you will forever continue until you're successful. But you would have to give away other things. So know yourself, release expectation and start learning about yourself first before saying, hey, if I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm not successful. Bullshit. Bullshit.
Right.
That's not what success is. Success is being happy, having enough food, money, and being able to take care of the people you love. For me, that's my definition of success. That I make, I don't know, 100,000 a year to millions a year. That's not the point. That's great, but that's not what freedom is. That's not what happiness is. As long as you can pay for your life and you don't have to, struggle into that part, and you have kind of a freedom of that, you're already good. No, is it what you want? That's another topic. But if
Right.
what you want is what society tell you want, that's not going to work.
Well, I love that one action step. It's to release, and it sounds so simple, but it can take some time, and it's very worthwhile doing that before you spend money, time, energy, effort, tears on a journey pursuing something that doesn't align with you. Okay, so two more things as we wrap up. What is, some people don't like to say, like, I don't like to live in regret when I ask this question, but I'm not coming from a place of regret. But what is something that you wish you would have asked sooner, on your journey, either to entrepreneurship or even as you were growing in the corporate space you were in? What is something that you wish you would have asked that would have unlocked, some of the struggles, for you to get to that next step, probably sooner, quicker, or faster?
Oh, I have an interesting story on that, and it's not about the ass first. So when I was 18, I actually started doing computer science diploma, but I was also freely attending some psychology class. And I said, oh no, I want to switch. I want to actually do psychology to become a psychologist. I'm a coach now, which has a lot of thing. But I think at that time my family is like, no, how are you gonna make money? It's not as good as making money in IT. You don't have as much job, blah blah blah. And I think at that time I should have asked myself, not other people, but myself, what is more in accordance to who I am? Because I'm good in tech. I've been hired by companies
Right.
working with like million users, $1 million of budget per month, things like this for the companies. It doesn't matter. I'm good at what I'm doing, but is it what I like doing it? Was I happy during that time? And I had one experience, which was when I was in Germany, just before I got my son. I was working in a VR company, and VR games startups were a trend at that time. It's not that much anymore, but it was a trend at that time. But when I saw the company targeting, 14 years old, 16 years old, we don't really have the money for those kind of things. Like VR cost $1,000 at that time for the equipment, plus you have to buy the game. And I was like, I didn't feel comfortable about it. And the company was actually mismanaged, crashed, closed up. There was like embezzlement and so on and so on. Not really a nice story. But when I left the company, I was like, okay, what do I want to do? And so I was like, I want to help people. I really want to do something more positive. Then I got to Indonesia, started to work with one startup into the, let's say the poverty financing. Good experience, but still was not there. And then I moved to coaching, full-time coaching, because I was already coaching internally in companies, and I worked with full-time coaching. I'm like, this is it. Like there is no way I'm not gonna do that. And that was the feeling. And I think that the most important question is not a question that you can ask to others, but to ask to yourself. Is that me? Is that making me feel alive, free, and waking up every morning is like, yeah, I have thousands of tasks, I have thousands of work, I have stress, I have to pay people, I have a company to run. But does that make me feel me and alive? And I would say that the basic question you should ask yourself.
Oh, I think that is perfect. Whether you ask yourself, that's the first person you should ask. I definitely appreciate that response, and I like how you went back to the 18-year-old you about psychology, and in a way, it came full circle because with coaching, there is some psychology that's involved. Well, thank you so much. Last thing, what is one thing that you are currently working on that when it happens, it will completely blow your mind or your client's mind or anything like that?
Actually, I'm working on several things right now, which are quite interesting. I just launched a new program, the One Freedom program. It just launched like this week.
Okay.
That's for people that actually want to build their life around freedom, around purpose. At the same time, I used to have a lead magnet that I like for people, which was great, which was the awareness workbook. Didn't It was good, but I'm actually launching this, which is the Art of Transformation book. So this one is going to be available on Amazon, and I'm also going to give it away for free for some people and all my clients. This is still there is a first version that is already available on Amazon, but the official release is in the 1st of July. And this will be a full-blown book on helping you to find your self-awareness, your beliefs, your values, grow your mindfulness. So all around that. And I think that's one of the foundation of being you and being free and being able to grow. And then at the same time, 2 weeks ago, I launched my new podcast, the One Freedom Formula. And the first two episodes with my wife, where we looked into, did we lose freedom when we got married?
Ooh,
Which is an important question. So that's our appreciation of it. That's our way of looking at it. But I think it's valuable, to ask yourself that question: did you lose some freedom when you got married, or did you actually gain freedom? Or what is it for you? And so the podcast is all about that. It's like helping people gain freedom with concrete action, as we are doing right now, trying to give them concrete strategy, concrete action that they can take, implement in their life, and really improve their freedom. I think, this is one of the beautiful things. If we can improve personal wealth and personal freedom, that's the goal. That's the end goal of everything.
right. Well, I thank you so much. And for everyone listening, I hope the one main takeaway, if you have not picked up anything on your own, was moving from resume to reinvention to remarkable is really understanding what your personal freedom is. And Vivien gave us some very good concrete strategies, just not an overview of, oh, freedom, but what it really means to define that for yourself as you're moving forward in your life. So thank you so much for listening and watching, and everything to be connected with Vivien will be down below or sent to you. So thank you so much.
Have a great day, everyone.